We were passing, so we thought it'd be cool. Thanks for everybody's permission. Not quite permission, lack of complaining. Yeah, so it's events and entertainment, things like that, but we're building a race series next year, so a bunch of people half my age all racing each other around the water surface.
Oh, wow.
Getting live broadcast, heads-up display of what I see and all that sort of stuff. I think it could make most motorsport look quite dull. So that's a really cool thing, but really, we've got an electric system as well, and we are, the electric system struggles because of the energy density, but it just about works. But that could be the beginning of a whole new way of moving people around, and certainly for Special Forces, and I spent 6 years in our British Royal Marines as well. If you want to move a Special Forces soldier, let's say, I don't know, on top of that, the Harbour Masters building, say, very quickly, I define anybody else find a quicker way of doing it.
Right.
Did you do it silently?
Well, you're competing against a helicopter, right? And a helicopter is a single point failure, whereas 4 seals flying low over the water up on target, I mean, it's really hard to beat. So anyway, I mean, and there's some search and rescue people as well that quite like the idea, but it's maybe a bit of a heavy way of doing it.
Hey, how much body weight do you have to hold up when you're like flying?
About 25 to 30% of my weight on each arm, so if you support yourself on the back of 2 chairs, you're doing way harder work than I am. Because that engine lifts me. So actually when you're flying, it's really quite calm and stable and simple.
Cool.
I mean, like with most things, if you're relatively light, relatively fit and whatever, and you've done something to do with flying or...
You have to be balanced.
50%.
Yeah, but as I say, it's if you've got some degree of aptitude, and with our training rig where you're tethered and you can't hurt yourself or fall over or do anything silly, it's actually a big 3-legged tripod. It's more stable than your 2 legs. But it does take about potentially 5 to 15 minutes of just tuning your brain, like riding a bike, into going, oh, okay, that.
And if you're actually going to fly out there, it's like an airplane. You do have to know the wind flows and the air draft.
You know what? I've been at airfields before, admittedly small airfields, but where they've shut the whole airfield down because it's gusting like 40-mile-an-hour winds, and we carried on flying. I've got no wings, so I don't really that breathing, if that was at 40 miles an hour, it's having as much effect on me as you when you're walking, and I just vector slightly without thinking. With wings, it's a different story. Then you're ridiculous. You just get blown all over the place, and that's why the wings need to be deployable, so you hide them away.
Interesting.
How fast can you go?
I mean, going 35, 40 miles an hour or so, at that point, a bit like putting your hand out of a car window, it starts to get quite buffeting. So, and I'm stable by just holding these front legs of my tripod out, right? And if they're starting to get hit by airflow, I've not crashed from that, but it's not felt great. That's the speed, though, where you can start generating loads of lift from wings. So just like the Harrier or the F-35, that's where you want to be playing that game, not the hovering around. So that's all coming next year.
So you have a competition obstacle course with your competitors that ride these?
That's well, it'll be a race series, all flying similar things to this, and then you could frankly watch the first 3 Iron Man films and take all the cool stuff from there and build the race series out of that.
Good. Bring it to Monterey. Yeah.
I mean, actually, Bay Area, the speeds you can get up to, you would warrant ideally bigger space, but you could certainly build an inflatable kind of obstacle course around places like this. It'd be awesome. You land, run, take off, bound around. I mean, we did one in San Francisco yesterday. I think yesterday. At the Hillier Museum.
Yes.
The Museum, which turns out to be this wonderful history of vertical takeoff and landing. We didn't even realise. And the Drapers, who own 10% of the company, just to set us up there. And we just goofed around at the back of the warehouse, the museum there, and jumping off cars and all sorts of things. So it's amazing what you can do. You just think where you want to go, and as long as you don't lose sight of potential, injury, then it's fine.
Is this similar to the one that you see in the YouTube where it's on their feet in the water
Yeah,
and they
same.
come up and...
So yeah, the water thing that you can go and do.
They're attached to a tube, I think.
It's a jet ski with a hose pipe, really. So blowing water fast creates like holding a hose pipe, right? That's an easy way of creating thrust. Blowing air, because it's so light, you have to throw it at 1,000 miles out of here to create the thrust. So it's the same kind of principle, but using water instead of air. And yes,
Think about it,
take that jet ski
5
wherever you go.
years, it'll be
Similar
half
kind of principle.
We do have our Naval Postgraduate School here that's got a good, strong physics department that could work with you.
Yeah, they kind of, I've done lots of stuff with the UK, US, and actually Singapore military, and they all love it.
Good.
But I did notice I didn't say military in terms of the business model, because they all love it, but the process would you just go bankrupt for several decades in a row before potentially signing anything. It will happen, because I say it's unbeatable for certain specific special forces roles. But yeah, we're having too much fun in the meantime.
So are you strictly DC, or do you have any grant money?
On the way to do the first TED Talk 2 weeks after launching in April 2017, the Draper reached out and did a demo in the car park and said, drove the road, $65 deal, $100 bill. It's all online. That was a VC round, and I packed up my TED and flew in the same day as Elon Musk was there and actually did webcast. It was quite an intensive week. Since then, we had an early investor as well that helped with the launch. We're not really potentially for the entertainment side of it, we might do another raise, but actually we've generated so much money out of like events and actually selling suits and things. I'm quite proud of the fact this is a 15-month-old startup and it's actually generated $1 million. I want this to feed itself rather than just be a crazy valley, pipe dream. But I mean, what I announced Singularity at the talk 2 days ago was that we are opening out only a limited number of windows to for people to buy into race teams. So you don't have to fly it yourself, but a bit like buying into NASCAR or IndyCar or whatever. We white label you a team, you brand it up as you or your company or whatever, and we can even find you pilots, different athletes from around the world. And you've got all the hospitality, all the touring around the world as part of that team. Like you have in motorsport. And I think that, apart from being really cool fun, is a great way of accelerating the technology, because when a bunch of 20-year-olds are racing each other, it's just over water, you just go in the water if you screw up, it's really not that dangerous at all. Then we'll push the boundaries. I'll look like the right way of doing what I'm doing. There's loads more capability, but I just kind of
If you land in the water, how much damage is there?
surprisingly little. We could do a bit more to waterproof the electronics, but that's very known technology. Gas turbines, put them in water, that doesn't work very well. You need to swap the internals out, but the last time we did it, it was about $10,000 to swap everything out, which, I mean, you're doing a front wing on an SD car and it's going to be 10 times that.